Wendell Jones, and welcome to this special program here on JCN. Over the next several months, we are going to be doing a number of roundtable discussions on vision casting for the New Bahamas. And today on our program, we are going to be speaking with a number of Bahamians who are in business in the financial services sector about what they do and how they see the Bahamas moving forward. Today on our program, we are going to be speaking about the financial services industry, how it is changing, new companies that are coming on stream in the Bahamas, economies that are being decentralized, a whole lot of issues we are going to discuss today. We have a father and son team here today. Darcy Rumming Sr., who is CEO of our XM Dollars, and he is joined by his son, Darcy Rumming Jr., the Chief Technology Officer of that company. And then Brian Jones, who is Managing Director of Leno Corporate Services, and he's also Director of the Bahamas Financial Services Board. And then we have Mr. Keith Davies, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Canoe, and he is also the Chief Executive Officer of BizX. Later in our program, we are going to be joined by Khalil Brathwaite, who is Head of Business Development at Leno. Gentlemen, welcome to the program, and good to see you all.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to be here.
With so many heavyweights around the table, we don't know where to start. But our program is really about vision casting for the New Bahamas. We have heard it said, Mr. Davies, that we need a fresh vision for the Bahamas. What do you say?
I think everyone needs a fresh vision. You always want to not recycle but renew. And I think that in our case in particular, we're trying to bring a new way of doing business to the Bahamas, provide a new footprint for the Bahamas. And so over the course of this dialogue, we talk about how we do things differently. I say a lot of times that your posture says a lot about you. And our posture as a company is very forward-thinking, very innovative, working, and trying to do things not on a status quo basis, but how can we change things for the better?
Right?
Oh, absolutely. One of the buzzwords you hear all the time when people talk about, advancing and so on is innovation. But I like to take a whole new tact on that and really focus on inventiveness, right? Reinventing the way we do things, right? To kind of piggybacking off of Keith, a renewal, a fresh approach, right? And that means new tools, it means new skills, it means being open to new ideas. And this is what we're seeing actually gain traction as opposed to some of the more traditional forces in the economy.
Rumming Senior and Junior, Arawak XM Dollars, it's a relatively new company, eh? And you have been putting out to market a new idea. Let's talk about it.
Well, it speaks exactly to the innovation that these gentlemen just mentioned, because what has happened in our country is the area of innovation where companies are formed, where they get the most value from, it's almost non-existent because they're not funded. And so what we've seen instead is a brain drain, because these areas where our kids have great ideas, or some of our older people have great ideas, between about $50,000 and about $3 million, which is beyond most people's ability to self-finance. A lot of the growth ideas are there, and they're not happening here, and they haven't been happening for a long time. And so by not having that, let's say, primary school of companies, you can't grow into the bit larger companies. So what we have is we have, a lot of funding from some of these groups for little grants, a little 5, 10 grand for the guy to buy a new pair of clippers or a lawnmower or something like that. But when you have truly innovative products, like what Mr. Davies have over there, you need to have some type of funding, and there are many, many ideas that just fall through the cracks because you never. It's like we have kindergarten, and we have high school but we never did primary school.
Ramin Jr., we heard it said that there are so many young Bahamians who aren't returning to the Bahamas because there aren't any opportunities for growth. You can speak to that.
Well, yes, as a millennial, we have been sent off to school. Our parents invested, their savings, their things in our education. We got to see the world. We have a lot of ideas. And then you come home and the environment kind of says, no, we don't do it like that. And that's kind of one of the reasons why a lot of people, you're only going to hear no so many times before people start saying, well, I guess there's no place for me here. And that's kind of what new technology has a way of expanding the pie for everyone so that we can all coexist and be here. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be here. You could see it from, they're building new hotels, people are trying to get in here, and yet we have to find a way for us to be here as well and to thrive.
Can I pick up off what he just said? Let me tell you something about a new way of thinking. We have a number of employees. We are a startup. We are a fintech company that just started, and our product launched just on the 9th of December last year. Canoe.
Yeah.
When we hired the people that we hired marketing, we hired sales and operations. In their job description, it says you are required to be unconventional. You are required to question me. You're required to tell me no when you disagree. That's what they're required to do in their job description. And anything else that's required by the company. So automatically, I freed that person to think not the way I want them to think. They are not drones. They're independent thinkers, and we're hiring people to think. I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to challenge me at every single point of the day. And in fact, I'm happy to say most of them are smarter than me. In fact, all of them. And that's exactly what I want. And so companies that are understand innovation and development, you look for people like Young Junior right there, because you want that type of thinking. And that's what's going to propel us and move us forward.
Is that what we have going on among young professionals, the millennials, Brian?
Well, I can tell you, there is the desire for a culture shift as it relates to our work culture from the millennial crowd. There's a desire. But the status quo is still in place, right? So it's a push and pull. But you see, when you have the leadership of a company, if they set the standard, they provide the right environment for professional development, for creative exploration. Yes. This is where you see companies start to thrive. People start to own their roles. Correct. Right? They don't just show up to do a job, but they then start building a career. Right, and these the opportunities for that, it's quite limited.
To add to what you're saying, I think it's the generations working together is really what adds it. I could do the 80-hour stint of work to when it comes time to testing to go all the way down.
I can't do that no more.
Yeah. So but you still need. We exist in financial services. We need regulations. Otherwise, we will get ourselves into a lot of problems. And the regulations are there for a reason. And working in that regulated environment, the young can add the innovation, and the older can guide the young so that they don't step on any landmines that can be hurt.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's a very simple philosophy behind that kind of thinking, where when you look at tradition, being faithful to tradition does not necessarily consistent of being faithful to just certain forms and procedures or rituals per se, right? But it's more so kind of focusing in and zoning in on that original creativity that gave birth to that tradition in the first place, right? So you have to determine how does that fit in today's world, right? Because traditions do evolve.
But the challenge to all of that, of course, is to make, as he said, both generations, all the generations that are involved, feel valued and feel wanted because
question.
they do a lot of studies, and the innovation doesn't necessarily just come from the millennial crowd. It comes from some older crowd, but some of them have also been suppressed for so long they haven't been able to fully express themselves. And so we're all from the same stock of people essentially. And there are some structural things to how our system is that have stopped us from being able to realize our full potential. And one of these structures, of course, is ownership.
Yes.
We have heard a whole lot about the need to re-engineer government, re-engineer the way we do things. Is the economy being re-engineered by all of these fintech companies that we see coming on stream?
Well, the short answer is yes. Typically what you have in economies is that the innovators and those persons that are driving, they create and they do things that haven't been done before. And what you have is a situation where regulators and countries and governments are trying to catch up. And as you mentioned, regulations are only designed to ring fence. They're not designed to stop. In fact, in many instances, I would argue that regulation should be designed to foster development and growth. And so even at that level, a regulator's mindset, if you ask a regulator to do something, they shouldn't tell you what you shouldn't do. They should tell you how you can do it. Give you it's the lean forward versus the lean back. And so that's the thinking and the mentality that we need to have as a country.
And because of the changing world around us, they have to change, because people like me, we're not going anywhere. And so we're going to use every system possible to ensure that my grandchildren are able to have a better Bahamas. We're not letting somebody, because of their political suasion or their regulatory mindset or what have you, dumb us down anymore. That era has passed.
But there's a view that the economy, the Bahamas itself, is over-regulated. You see the parliamentarians that go to Parliament on a regular basis passing various bills, various laws. The regulations are coming left, right, and center. Are we too regulated? Do you have the kind of professional freedom that you need in order to make your businesses grow?
Regulations are a tool. How they are administered determines whether they become a barrier or a springboard. And so I would say that I do not believe that we are over-regulated. I believe that the regulations are the what. You need to ask the why. And if you understand that and you apply them properly, they should not, and I believe at this point are not impeding what we're doing.
Absolutely, and regulations, they actually provide clarity to the market, to
Absolutely.
participants. They provide protection for consumers, investors.
Level the playing field.
And they level the playing field, right? So I think regulation in and of itself is not a bad thing. Bureaucracy, I think that's the negative side of it. Too much bureaucracy.
Or a mindset where you have the tail wagging the dog. As you very eloquently put it, it's meant to grow and foster growth and to ring fence and to protect and all of these things. But when you have people with the attitude that hey, you're going to do it my way and this is my way, and they're not necessarily practitioners in the field themselves, this is where you have the challenges. But I'm happy to say that we have some very progressive regulators. I feel that we have a very progressive
true.
I'm going to give a plug to the central bank.
Yes.
The governor of the central bank, over 2 years ago, when we began this journey for Canoe, he said, and I'm sure he said it to others, so it's not, again, anything particular to us. He said, give me a reason to say yes. This is a new environment, a new era, and I am certain that you're going to bring me things here at the central bank that we've not seen before. But explain it to us, work with us, and give us a reason to say yes.
We feel the same at the
Securities
Securities
Commission, yeah.
They're for the crowdfunding rules, they're trying to lower the age to 15. So teenagers can learn how to properly invest. So that's what we mean. There is good thought in behind a lot of these regulations.
The key is they have to be able to run with us.
So you don't feel stifled in any way in creating these fintech companies? Because I've heard on numerous occasions that Brian mentioned bureaucracy, that government is the problem and standing in the way, that there are encumbrances to the growth and development of many small businesses in the country.
I think that was the bureaucracy he was talking about.
Yes.
Because you get to a point when you've run and now you want to do something, and now it has to go through 3 different layers of decision making when it really should be one.
Or multiple departments.
Multiple departments, and so it doesn't get to this person at that time, and so timing, because we don't have time. My office knows that everything needs to be done yesterday, and so time is not the enemy; it's a factor.
So we need certain things to be deregulated so that you can go through one agency.
I think you have to work in a active environment. So there's no blanket answer to it. There are some areas that are doing excellent and striving towards excellence, and there are other areas that are doing poorly. And thus we see the ranking system of us being ranked, I think, 119. However, when you look at the overall attitude towards it, everyone's trying to work to make a change. That's the first positive thing. If we were saying, that's it, this is how we do it, it's not changing. But we actively see people setting up committees, looking at these issues, trying to make a change. And that's the beginning. It's very positive.
Well, if it's as positive as you make it out to be, why is the economy of the Bahamas not growing as it ought? We've heard about 1% growth, which is no growth at all. We need to have 4 or 5% growth in the country in order for us to create employment and for there to be some buoyancy in the economy. Why is it not growing?
We're right back to that issue of innovation. We have not put in place the structures yet, although we are putting them in place. That's why Arawak exists as a company, so that innovation is what will drive the growth. It's the only thing that will drive the growth, where new industries will be created, new ideas will be created. We have a company that's signing on with us that's doing an amazing amount of work in terms of augmented reality. And you would think, what is a Bahamian company doing with augmented reality? Well, watch and see. Watch this space. There's hundreds of jobs.
Yes,
hundreds.
We also have a lot of Bahamians are looking to export things. Well, obviously the processes and the regulations associated with export are going to have to change to allow them to facilitate that. But they have great products. They have great drive. They have great desire. It's just about financing that.
Well, let's piggyback and let's ask a specific question. They answered it indirectly for you. Growth and development. It comes from business development, people working. Foreign direct investment, someone comes in here and sets up and does something. The size of those, the magnitude of those are far and few between, and we look for them. However, what is the largest sector of business in the country? Small businesses. It's 95% of the businesses in the country. Those businesses need what? Capital. Those businesses, once they have the capital, you have many people with great ideas. They don't know how to run a business. So you have the guy that starts, that dies within a year because they don't know how to run. So I've, in my other capacity at BizX, we talked about what needs to happen. It is a process. It is a developmental process. You have to get people the monies to do the business. You have to tell them how to run the business and then how to maintain your business. And it's a cycle. And then you will begin to see this development and growth that you're seeking. And so the innovation and the financial industries that we represent, you're going to begin to see us doing things. The things that we're doing haven't been done before. That's right. And now that's new industry. That's going to take time to grow and develop. We're running as fast as we can, and you're going to begin to see other people do a number of other things that add to that economy.
But Brian, you are director of Bahamas Financial Services Board. And in financial services itself, we have seen a lack of growth.
That's true. We actually seen contraction.
Contraction, yes.
That's correct. That's correct. And I think that's symptomatic of global trends, right? But it gives us an opportunity to kind of reinvent the industry. And again, I revisit this word reinvent because the way business used to be done in, let's say, international finance, what we used to call as the offshore sector, that is no more. right? Not because the number of companies have closed. It's because the laws have changed. We now actually have a level playing field whereby Bahamian financial institutions can access international markets and vice versa. Those same international firms, they have the ability to seek approval to cater to the local market. So now, with this level playing field, that actually presents new opportunities. For Bahamian firms, you can actually have international financial houses here in the Bahamas now where, that was not really a concept before.
This trend began 10 years ago, ish. And those companies that positioned themselves to understand what was happening, they're in a better place now. Leno is one of those companies. So being able to understand and take advantage of these trends is something that we need to do as a country as well. And people have been doing that.
And on those trends, so for example, one of the biggest trends we see right now that's moving, you mentioned augmented reality, you have artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data mining, right? Those are the big forces. When you combine those with digital assets, crypto assets, we're talking about a whole new digital economy, right? Where we need to see many more canoes, many more Arawak X's, and many more Lenos to make this economy work.
What is this all going to mean to banking as we know it, or we used to know it in the Bahamas? The banking system is going through some changes, isn't it?
Thank the Lord, yes. As we know from the IDB that 85% of small business loans are rejected by the banks, 85%. So obviously the banking sector is not suitable for us for financing this particular economy. And for so long, the banks have been predatory on our people. And now they finally managed to move a lot of the people out of these managerial positions so that they're staffed with, they don't have the executive authorities. So thankfully, a lot of these banks are going to have to either make a massive change or they're going to disappear. They're going to go out of business. And they will be replaced by things such as a canoe because people will be able to get their money digitally. They wouldn't have to go to some branch and wait for 4 hours and celebrate a birthday on the line and all these other things that go on. And they would be able to just easily go into the supermarket. I think you guys are in the supermarket and get their money. These things are going to change. It's going to change. So that old way of waiting there while these guys stand around with their archaic processes, thank the Lord, is about to change.
Well, it already has changed. I mean, the RC mentioned it. Right now, there isn't anything that a bank can do today that we aren't doing faster, cheaper, quicker, with the exception of deposit taking. But that's the traditional role of a bank. A bank is a savings and a loan. It takes deposits in from its customers and then it lends it out. That's been their traditional role. And because they were that center, they then use that to do other various things. The world has changed. Things have moved quicker. The demands are more and more diverse. And so you have institutions like ours coming on stream that are challenging those traditional, that word we use, that traditional notion of what does it mean to service a customer. And I said, and I told this, my colleagues, we were having a conversation earlier, you have to meet people where they are, not where you want them to be. And so we understand that, and businesses are beginning to understand that. And look at the world around. I mean, I won't call one, but one large bank here, they don't even call banks anymore. They're called stores. That's the name of those branches. They're stores, because they understand that they're selling something. It's called a service.
And it's important to understand that the money is here as well. We have, because the banks have decided not to mobilize those dollars, that just to sit there and let them sit there, we have, I think it's like $2.6 billion just sitting there that could go into people's businesses and help to grow the economy.
There's even more if you count the cash and
years ago, and Keith can tell you, years ago I called them an oligopolistic cartel. Now the IDB report says, oh, this is an oligopoly 20 years later. Am I
You're correct.
Okay.
I vouch.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, so you'll find no love for me for them.
So when people talk about access to capital and the inability to access capital. That is changing as well, given the formation of these new fintech companies in our country.
Well, there are different types of lending. I mean, one of the newest trends I would call is micro lending, but it's also crowdfunding. Let's look at it broadly. One of the things you have to appreciate, borders don't matter anymore. One of the things about the digital revolution, particularly with crypto, when we talk about blockchain and Bitcoin and all of that, and initial coin offerings, although there's some issues related to them. One thing that the model showed is that it doesn't matter where you are. Leveraging the blockchain, which is an internet-based technology and database technology, you now can raise money around the world in an instant. And so when we talk about regulation and companies and countries trying to catch up, those are things that countries are trying to deal with, because I'm sitting in one country raising money halfway across the world. You now want to make sure that that person raising those funds are legitimate. And so that's an issue, but the principle still exists.
Yes.
The traditional methods of fundraising and lending are no more.
Correct. And on that point, you have a disintermediation. You don't need an intermediary to make that investment for you. Yes. You can invest directly in that company.
Explain what that means.
Right. So essentially,
Yeah.
right. So the current banking and investment system is a lot of different institutions that are interconnected, right, along different railways, right? So if you wanted to make a wire transfer, just as a simple banking transaction, you might originate that in your commercial bank on Bay Street. But then, if you're going to send US dollars to, say, Germany, that actually has to pass through a US correspondent bank, right? And then it might end up going to the German bank's correspondent bank.
Probably go to the UK
and then
go to Germany.
To Germany.
Yes.
Okay, wherever they're. So many steps along the way. There's a lot of friction in that, right? And it slows down, the transaction.
Friction equals cost.
Correct. Now, if we look at the reason why they exist. They exist because they guarantee the transaction. They make good on it, right? And you trust that bank. You trust that brand to make good on that transaction for you. But here it is with blockchain. You trust the technology. There's a saying in the crypto space that you don't trust, you verify. The technology gives you the ability to go and check for yourself. You can watch your transaction settle live on the blockchain. Let me just give you one quick anecdote. I won't call any names, but actually someone came to my office yesterday, and they had bought some cryptocurrency, right? And they had some questions about it, et cetera. So I checked it out. And it turns out they were completely scammed. They got scammed, right? They paid $5,000 and they thought they were getting $5,000 worth of cryptocurrency. They ended up with $40 worth of Bitcoin, and all of the other crypto assets that are in their digital wallet on their phone were fake, right? It's just that they weren't aware of how to go about and verify. They went and trust the person.
Yes.
When you're in the crypto space, you don't trust, you verify. But however, you do need, for example, if you're putting money into a business through the blockchain, well, you have to do your due diligence on that business that you're investing in. But you don't have to worry about the integrity of the transaction. You will be able to put your money directly in that company on the blockchain.
Let's take a break here. We are talking about vision casting for a new Bahamas, and we're talking, of course, with some professionals now who are in the fintech business in our country. We take this break, we'll come back.